Fans have taken something out of the vault that has everyone talking again. Just when Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Season 13 looked to be settling into its typical drama with Scrappy, Skira, and the new faces. Yes, exactly. An old video of Mendeecees and Yandy is making a comeback. And people are viewing it differently this time. Yandy is seen chit-chatting with a Drake impersonator in the video that is currently trending on TikTok and Instagram loops. And it wasn't just a kind greeting. No. This fans claim that the man who was complimenting her and offering her drinks looked all too familiar. This is where things start to get really nasty though. And there was Mendeecees. He basically walks right into this embarrassing situation by pulling up in the middle of a conversation. Some now claim that it was all a spoof video by Lil Mendeecees a year ago. But given the Season 13 premiere date and Mendeecees and Yandy's recent quiet demeanor on the program, many are questioning if this is the true reason for their low-key behavior. And Mendeecees himself spoke up just as the online debate was getting heated. What was it he said? In today's video, we're going to break everything down, so keep watching. Scrolling through the Explore page began as any other typical love and hip-hop nostalgia moment. But then that clip appeared once more. The one where Yandy is sitting at a restaurant grinning, while a man who resembles Drake leans in to talk to her in front of everyone. Some viewers initially believed it to be a manipulated or a Photoshop video from another event. However, as more individuals began to investigate, they discovered that this was not a fabrication. This was from Lil Mendeecees' old YouTube prank film, in which he had hired a Drake impersonator to trick his family almost a year ago. However, people weren't merely laughing at it this time around for some reason, as if it were a brand new controversy. They were dissecting every single moment in the clip. Why was Mendeecees' face so serious when he pulled up? People were wondering, why did Yandy seem so friendly with the fake Drake? Some even said that Mendeecees initially appeared to be unaware that it was a prank. Although Love and Hip Hop fans had previously examined older material, the timing seemed different this time. The 13th season had recently debuted. And although the plot between Scrappy and Shakira had received most of the attention up to this point, Yandy and Mendeecees were conspicuously absent from the first few episodes. And now that the video had leaked again, everyone was wondering if that was deliberate. Perhaps something was happening off camera. The way Mendeecees conducted himself in that video was what really had the bloggers talking. Instead of making a commotion, he kept his composure and greeted everyone as if nothing had happened when he entered the restaurant and spotted Yandy sitting there with the Drake impersonator. However, there was a spark of something visible in his eyes on Twitter. Fans were tweeting slow-motion replays that zoomed in on Mendeecees' face as he entered, while others wrote things like, "He was hurting on the inside." You can tell. It wasn't only the no longer play pranks. It had been transformed into an entire emotional story by others. The remarks concerning Yandy herself came next. Even though he was merely a Drake impersonator, several people thought she was too at ease and too eager to joke and laugh with him. In some of the clips, she smiled when he gave her compliments, took beverages, and leaned in a bit too closely for some viewers to find comfortable. In actuality, though, it was most likely all harmless fun. Ultimately, Lil Mendeecees had arranged everything. However, it began to develop into a larger narrative when fans began combining that film with recent Season 13 clips that showed Yandy gazing away from Mendeecees. Soon after, fan pages began piecing together entire montages. Yandy and the Drake impersonator would be seen giggling at one point. A shot from Season 13 then cuts to her sitting quietly at a cast dinner without even glancing in Mendeecees' direction. Furthermore, social media doesn't really wait for the facts. Even when there isn't any official confirmation that anything is wrong between them, they develop their own hypotheses. Even polls were being posted by some. Do you believe that Mendeecees and Yandy are having issues off camera? While thousands of people were casting their ballots, old Mendeecees interview snippets began to reappear as well. interviews in which he discussed trust and the difficulties he experienced acclimating to life outside of prison, how celebrity had changed his life, but also how Yandy had kept him down. Bloggers were relating those remarks to the widely shared Drake joke, stating things like, "Perhaps Mendes didn't find this as humorous as he had the impression that even Yandy's own previous postings were displayed. Specifically, one post from around the same period as that spoof video, in which she mentioned that she would maintain my peace regardless of what was presently being discussed in the comments, was displayed. Back then, people were wondering if that was her way of implying tension. It's amazing how something so little can become a major subject simply because someone on the internet chooses to have a different stance on it. Fans weren't the only ones agitating the situation. Hip and in love, the tale was picked up by YouTube commentators, hot bloggers, and even some gossip websites. YouTube began to display thumbnails with titles such as Mendeecees Unbothered, Hiding Pain, What Really Happened, and Yandy's Drake Moment. As if they were breaking news, snippets of the spoof film were being re-uploaded. But when Mendes himself finally addressed it, that's when things really heated up. Nothing dramatic happened. No live video or lengthy statement. He only left a comment on a blog article that had published the clip of the Drake impersonator. He just commented, "Y'all have got to relax. That was little man's prank. Stop trying to turn everything into something it's not." However, as soon as that remark was made, it only served to stoke the flames. People were divided. Some claimed that he was obviously done and wished for everyone to stop. Others claimed that because he even replied, it struck a chord and the discussion continued. What had started out as a straightforward throwback joke had now evolved into the unofficial plot of Season 13, watching new episodes with new eyes. Fans were searching for any indication of friction between Mendes and Yandy. Was she more reserved than normal? At events, did he sit farther away? When it comes to hip-hop drama and love, the internet never misses anything. Beyond all of the conjecture on social media, however, a more in-depth discussion was taking place among regular watchers. They began discussing the impact of public life and celebrity on genuine relationships. In the comments, people talked about their personal experiences of being treated disrespectfully by seemingly insignificant details. Mendes and Yandy were no longer the only focus. It had to do with perception, trust, and the hazy boundaries between reality TV and the real world. The way Mendes delivered that awkward hug when he first got in was one of the things people noticed as more segments from the prank film circulated, not really paying attention to anyone in particular or how Yandy appeared to become a bit too defensive when someone brought up Mendes' arrival. At one point in time, people truly Yandy laughed a little too loudly as the Drake impersonator made a joke about paying for drinks for everyone. Others claimed it was insignificant. Some vowed it was an indication of something more serious, even the body. YouTube language specialists jumped in, dissecting each frame and highlighting hand gestures, facial expressions, and more. While Season 13 continued to air, Yandy and Mendeecees remained largely in the background and did not discuss any of it on the show. Seemed as though the entire internet had suddenly become investigators itself. Watching two tales at once was nearly impossible. There were many questions, rumors, and people frantically attempting to ascertain what was actually happening behind the scenes during both the TV show and the live internet event. Once the discussions got going, there was no stopping them. And fans continued to dig despite Mendeecees' repeated claims that it was all a hoax. Additionally, things began to feel even more layered when more footage circulated on TikTok and in real life. Everyone was discussing Yandy's self-handling behavior in What Do Those Times with Drake Look Like? In one scene, he offered to purchase the priciest drink available at the bar. Yandy played along, joking and laughing as if it were a lighthearted matter. That was a warning sign for some viewers, but harmless amusement for others. Under the clips, comments such as, "There's no way I'd let my wife act like that," even as a joke began to pour in, particularly from fans who had been following Yandy and Mendeecees' relationship from the previous seasons. The fact that other bloggers went further just made things messier. They began overlaying their own comments on that hoax clip while fusing it with actual episodes from season 13. For example, notice Yandy's appearance here. Watch her in this old video now. Same vitality. Nothing in the current season indicated that she and Mendeecees were at odds. But once that notion was established, it wouldn't go away. Already the crowd started searching for clues. Additionally, Mendeecees' behavior, not just in that hoax video, but in general, was discussed. People recalled times in past seasons when he had maintained his composure under duress. Even if something disturbed him, he wasn't the kind to lose it on camera. Some admirers contended that his composure did not imply that he was unharmed. It just meant that he kept things confidential. Others claimed that he made that little remark beneath the blog article for precisely that reason. The blog entry, the theories followed. Fans started sharing in-depth analyses. YouTube videos that examine Mendeecees and Yandy's social media activities, some of which are more than 30 minutes long. People remarked that in recent months, neither of them had posted as frequently. Longtime fans even pointed out that Yandy had not left a remark on Mendeecees' most recent posts, which was unusual. Even minor details like those might lead to full-fledged rumors, even though there isn't any concrete evidence that anything significant happened in the hip-hop and love worlds. Yandy herself said nothing during this entire ordeal. She didn't share any, discussing the video or the discussions around it, saying no tweets, no lives. It was only louder when there was silence. If it really wasn't a big deal, wouldn't she have just said something by now? Said both bloggers and fans. This kind of conjecture is what keeps the hip-hop and love communities interested when things are kept open-ended enough for everyone to come up with their own interpretation of events. As season 13 episodes continued to run, viewers began to pick up on more nuanced details. Mendeecees and Yandy were present during one event scene, although they didn't talk much. Nothing overt. No, just that silent distance without any on-camera conflicts or drama. People connected that, of course. Let's go back to the Drake look-alike prank that appeared. In the world of reality TV fandom, rationality isn't always the most important thing, even though it didn't make any sense. The tale people believe is what counts. Discussions concerning the difficulties couples encounter after years of appearing on reality TV were also sparked by this circumstance. With so much old footage floating around, fans began discussing how simple it is for outsiders to slant a moment all around. Others even posted old videos from previous seasons in which Yandy and Mendeecees had public highs and lows. From jail time to business setbacks, and how every small matter always became a topic of discussion at the same moment. A flood of support swept through. The drama narrative wasn't supported by everyone. Posts like "y'all are really reaching" was just a prank was said by several regular viewers. Mendeecees and Yandy solid. Those remarks served as a reminder to everyone that there are always two sides to any story, regardless of how widely shared it becomes. Came back here because of the season 13 drama. It was wild seeing a video that had been sitting quietly on YouTube for over a year suddenly explode with new views and comments. Some fans even returned to Lil Mendeecees' original video and left comments under it saying things like, "due to something happening on TV now." In the middle of all that, Lil Mendeecees himself caught some attention, too. A few admirers began speculating that by initially uploading the prank, he might have inadvertently agitated the situation. Others stood up for him, arguing that people needed to unwind and that it was innocent fun. Fans even circulated modifications that appeared to show that Drake had actually pulled up on Yandy by fusing footage from actual Drake concerts with Lil Mendeecees' prank. Anyone who was listening could see that was untrue. However, the content continued to propagate. Despite this, all of this culminated in a storm-like situation in which everything was interconnected. The calm distance between Yandy and Mendeecees in Season 13. Lil Mendeecees' hoax video, Yandy's silence. And Mendeecees' quick remark. All of it merged into a single continuous story. Even viewers who weren't typically interested in Yandy and Mendeecees found themselves paying more attention as more people checked into Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. However, one thing that truly caused division among viewers was how to understand Mendeecees' general energy. Some admirers thought it demonstrated true maturity since he was keeping everything so low-key. Others remarked that perhaps remaining silent allowed people to assume the worst. In a recent show, he glanced at the camera from the side, and fans immediately said, "See? He's thinking about that Drake already thing at the moment." Didn't even seem to matter if that was true. Love the narrative had taken on a life of its own, and watchers of hip-hop are notorious for clinging to such things, transforming insignificant incidents into arguments that last for an entire season. It only made sense for fans to fill in the spaces with whatever they could find because Yandy and Mendeecees aren't as frequently featured in the recent episodes. The possibility that the production will delve deeper into this storyline later in the season, perhaps bringing it up in a confessional or at a cast meeting, was even discussed in the fan sites. Speculation like that is what draws fans in week after week, eager to see if the turmoil off-camera will affect the show itself. It rarely goes away quietly by now. Once anything like that gets out there and develops traction, even if it was only a practical joke. Outside of the official Love and Hip Hop Atlanta narrative, the entire incident had taken on a life of its own. It even felt more real than some of the show's actual plots, according to some viewers' jokes. Additionally, every episode release seemed like a new puzzle piece, because Yandy and Mendeecees are currently the focus of so much attention. If it left them with more questions, or if it supported their views. The fact that Mendeecees' comment under that blog article was picked up by several larger gossip sites was what really sent things into a tailspin. Just a few lines encouraging people to calm down, not a whole declaration. However, for some reason, getting a direct response from him sparked a whole new round of conjecture. Some claimed that he was simply fed up with the internet fabricating articles about him, while others said things like he wouldn't have said anything if it really didn't bother him. Longtime followers were aware that Mendeecees was feeling something behind the scenes, despite his tendency to remain composed in front. Reactions came in from all directions as soon as those gossip pages began to post about it. Some followers completely agreed with Mendeecees, claiming that the prank wasn't hilarious in the first place. Others were quick to defend Yandy, telling everyone that it wasn't fair to bring her name into disrepute over a contrived YouTube moment, and that she had supported Mendeecees during all those difficult years. Particularly when he was imprisoned. Everywhere, comment sections were crowded with discussions. In addition, there were debates on Instagram, Facebook groups, and even Twitter forums on whether Yandy's actions in that video were a joke or not. A few members of the Love and Hip Hop cast started liking posts about the incident. Even though there were no overt or public declarations, those small social media actions were observed. When one of the supporting cast members double-tapped a post that showed Mendeecees entering the D restaurant, fans took note, and the topic of debate instantly changed once more. You see, they are all aware of the strain. On the basis of the slightest information, people wrote and developed new hypotheses. Much of the tale felt like it could actually happen, which is what made it interesting. It wasn't some ridiculous altercation or outrageous treachery. It was subtly plausible. Anything that begins little and expands based upon the conversation around it. Particularly in the Love and Hip Hop environment, where reality TV and real life are so easily merged. Compared to a scripted drama, that type of narrative is more memorable. Viewers were riveted to every background moment as Season 13 continued to air. Mendeecees was seen sitting off to the side in a brief camera pan during one of the cast events, not interacting with the group very much. Even though that clip was only a few seconds long, it generated a lot of conversation. Supporters were slowing it down, taking a snapshot and stating, "Look at his face. He's over it." By that time, it didn't really matter if it was a coincidence or something connected to the hoax clip. There was already energy in the air. Other love and hip-hop Atlanta couples, meanwhile, began subtly contributing through podcasts and interviews. On a relationship podcast, cast member discussed how social media may cause issues for reality TV couples by bringing up past incidents that were previously resolved in private. Although they didn't specifically mention Yandy or Mendeecees, everyone was aware of who they were referring to. Indirect remarks like that just fueled the flames, giving supporters the impression that something more profound was actually happening. It had not yet been shown. The fact that Yandy kept silent throughout it all was what truly got people to consider. The film had been resurfacing for weeks, and despite all the online discussion, she had remained silent. No postings explaining things, no Instagram stories addressing it. That quiet was more powerful than anything else for someone who is typically so outspoken about defending her family and reputation. Opinions among fans were divided on it. Some thought she was simply refusing to contribute to the drama. Others thought that perhaps there was some tension she wasn't ready to share with the world just yet. Goodbye, at this point. The Drake doppelganger joke had utterly dominated hip-hop and love discussions. Scrappy, Shakira, or any of the more recent plotlines were no longer the main topics of Atlanta Season 13 blogs. Everything had returned to Mendeecees and Yandy, previously reviewing the show. YouTube channels were now holding hour-long live broadcasts in which they again analyzed the hoax film, pointing out every aspect as if it were a reality TV probe, even famous people outdoors. The talk engulfed the hip-hop and love worlds. The story gained even more attention after one R&B star uploaded a video of the hoax with the laughing emoji and the caption, "Bro really thought he was Drake FR." The core LH fans were no longer the only ones. Fans no longer. Just that post from afar brought even more attention to the problem. The core LHH devotees were no longer the only ones. The question of what was actually happening with Yandy and Mendeecees was now being asked by casual viewers and some who didn't even regularly follow the show. Everyone kept returning to the difference between what was happening online and how things seemed on the show as all of this chaos grew. Yandy and Mendeecees continued to appear in the most recent episodes of Season 13, however, retaining the same subdued vitality. There were only fleeting glances and low-key side chats that didn't disclose anything. No significant scenes or intense emotional moments. That only added to the sense of mystery for fans of love and hip-hop. In the midst of all the public discussion, some insiders began leaking purported T2. Blog pages claimed to have inside information about what was actually happening off-camera between Yandy and Mendeecees by posting anonymous direct messages. The majority of the statements were ambiguous, such as they're working through things privately, or Yandy didn't like how the prank went down. And it's been an issue ever since. Once it hit, it didn't even seem to matter if any of that was real. In the eyes of the fans, the blogs became a part of the plot. People began posting old videos of Mendeecees' first return home and the lavish welcome party Yandy planned for him. Together with the hoax film, they would edit those scenes, adding dramatic subtitles such as "from this to give the impression that a terrible relationship transformation had occurred. This one small prank incident struck a different chord with viewers, despite the fact that those two have faced far more difficult obstacles both on and off the program. Perhaps it was a sense of realism, something as basic as a glance, a chuckle, or an instance where someone goes too far, even if it is inadvertent. Additionally, the show's official pages weren't the only ones blogging about it. With slow motion montages, background music, and captions like "Stay Strong." King over videos of Mendeecees entering the restaurant, fan-edited accounts were going viral. Even though the actual incident had occurred a full year prior, people were truly treating it as if it were a brand new scandal. Mendeecees only talked once more during this entire ordeal. It was just another little comment on another website, not a whole post, saying this time, "Internet always searching for a tale. Are we okay over here?" But once more, rather than bringing everything to a halt, it provoked a whole new round of arguments. According to several followers that proved everything was all right. Others claimed he was merely hiding serious problems. It seems that people had already decided what the true truth was, regardless of what either of them stated. This resulted in a kind of hip-hop and double-layered love experience. On the one hand, there was the actual show, with its typical drama unfolding week after week. However, it was accompanied by a whole internet narrative that was being built, one that was equally authentic. Compared to what was broadcast on VH1's New, it is equally dramatic and, for some fans, even more fascinating. The number of episodes continued to decline. The gap between what viewers were seeing on their screens and what was taking place online continued to widen. In one recent scenario, Mendeecees and Yandy attended a cast dinner where other actors and cameras were present participants. But to the viewers who had been watching the resurrected clip narrative, their enthusiasm was evident. For the majority of the night, Yandy sat quietly with her arms folded. Mendeecees, on the other hand, hardly looked in her direction as he remained engrossed in a chat with someone across the table. It might have appeared insignificant to ordinary spectators. That little incident, however, felt like proof to many who were already convinced of the Drake look-alike joke. For many fans, the final straw came when the Love and Hip Hop official Mendeecees and Yandy were positioned on opposite sides of the cast's backstage photo that was shared on Instagram. Unlike previous seasons, there were no pair poses or smiles. Almost immediately, comments began to pour in under that post, with people saying things like, "They're really not feeling each other anymore, huh?" And that Drake video again, casual. Fans who hadn't even viewed the original prank clip were beginning to wonder what everyone was talking about at this point. That caused the previous video to go viral once more, reaching new viewers who were most likely not even keeping up with Lil Mendeecees' channel prior to this. It was incredible to watch something so straightforward develop into a moment that took center stage and eclipsed everything else that was going on the show at the time. Some of the Love and Hip Hop Atlanta producers performed a podcast interview talking about the new season and teasing upcoming episodes. In particular, one producer noted that this season was keeping things honest by concentrating more on real-life concerns. Rather than fabricating plots, fans viewed that as a subliminal reference, despite the fact that they didn't mention Yandy and Mendeecees specifically. The speculation continued. People now thought that all would be revealed in an episode later in the season, perhaps in a confessional, or in Chamra. On their own pages, Yandy and Mendeecees maintained the same level of silence throughout. Just ordinary postings about their businesses, family gatherings, and brand deals. No new joint posts or relationship selfies. Fans continued to read between the lines despite the quiet. People thought Yandy was referring to Mendeecees whenever she shared a quotation about trust or peace. Comments would pour in whenever Mendeecees shared a photo of herself, saying things such as, "Where's Yandy at, though?" Then something more unexpected happened. Yandy once talked about how she felt insulted by minor things Mendeecees had done in the past in an old Love and Hip Hop Atlanta reunion clip that has since surfaced. Things that felt larger to her but innocuous to him. Supporters resurrected the incident and connected it directly to the Drake look-alike hoax tale, claiming it revealed a pattern that suggested those fleeting moments may have had more significance than most people knew. To further complicate matters, some fans even began to speculate as to whether Lil Mendeecees regretted first sharing the prank video. They noted that he hadn't posted much since, raising the question of whether the attention had caused him to retreat. Although there isn't any concrete proof, the concept gained popularity fast. Individuals enjoy creating these elaborate tales, transforming the most minor information into something more significant. What had begun as a single prank film quickly turned into a season-long off-camera story. Every week as a new episode aired, live tweet threads would contain updates regarding the Drake prank tale in addition to reactions to what was happening on the show. It would quickly receive millions of likes and retweets if someone shared a gif of Yandy looking solemn with a message that reflected on that Drake moment once more. The problem is that this type of multi-layered drama is precisely what keeps the program going year after year for fans of hip-hop and love. Goes beyond what is broadcast on VH1. It's about the fan theories, the side storylines, and the revival of the old clips. Discussion never truly stops, even if the actors never bring it up on camera. Some admirers even began creating forecasts regarding the outcome of the issue. Many of them thought that someone would have to bring it up by the time of the LHHATL Atlanta Season 13 reunion. It seemed impossible for the season to go without mentioning the now famous hoax video, whether it was from a host posing the question or a cast member making fun of it. An increasing number of YouTube channels posted their own commentary breakdowns. As the weeks passed, few producers produced one-hour videos that walked viewers through the prank step by step while providing their own interpretations of its meaning. Others concentrated particularly on Mendeecees to brief remarks beneath the blog entries, constructing essays and a whole film around just a few sentences. Yandy stayed silent the entire time. That quiet turned into a statement in and of itself for a lot of fans. Everyone was left wondering if she was unconcerned or simply didn't want to add to the excitement. This is the type of action that keeps viewers interested for the entire experience, including the episodes, social media hints, YouTube reactions, and the program itself, all of which contribute to a greater whole. The sense of groundedness in this particular situation set it apart from the typical love and hip-hop drama. No violent altercations or accusations of cheating were captured on video. It was all a matter of perception, a brief moment captured on video. Responses of people to it, and how fans' current viewing of the show reflects that intensity. Later, episodes of LHHATL Atlanta Season 13 made it evident that the calm plot of Yandy and Mendeecees had gained as much attention as any of the more boisterous ones. The rest of the cast are having more confrontational moments. It served as a reminder that occasionally viewers aren't most affected by the major scenes. It's the little nuanced things that aren't spoken. Fans cherish those moments and think about them long after the credits have rolled. Now that everything has been explained, including the Drake impersonation, prank, and Mendeecees' eventual speech, the question really boils down to your opinions. Was it merely a harmless incident that was exaggerated by social media? Or is there a more complex relationship between Yandy and Mendeecees that hasn't been shown yet in Season 13 of LHHATL Atlanta? At the moment, fans are undoubtedly divided. Some suggest that since it was only a joke, people should move on, while others think that the silent energy between them this season is too real to ignore. It's impossible to ignore.